Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3887. Today's date is 14th of February 2026. It's been almost like a night at 9:08 p.m. Okay, let's just jump into the question. Let's go. Okay, the question is: do I trust my setup enough to focus fully on creativity instead of technical fear? Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? This is a YouTube realization question. Why am I asking this question to myself? When I ask this question to myself, I would know more about myself as a content creator. I would know more about a platform like a social media platform, Instagram, YouTube. I would know more about my execution, my creativity. While asking this question, I kind of like a get realization that am I credible enough to consider myself as a YouTuber or content creator or not? Okay, so these are kind of like some realization questions, so that I would aware of that. Ki, am I that particular person or not? Okay. Now regarding about the question says that do I trust my setup enough to focus fully on creativity instead of technical fear? Now what exactly is this question? Now this question is that ki, like when you try to create any kind of like a simply creativity, is your technical thing is like a fully equipped, like like example is this thing, like this is the kind of like a silly stuff that I am kind of like a somebody. Okay, so what exactly happened when I started YouTube in 2011? Sorry, no, not 2011. um, I started in August 2021. Okay, yeah. And at that time I was kind of like making travel videos. Okay, yeah. Before that I was kind of like simply making a kind of like a hyperlapse video. Okay, I wanted to make hyperlapse video. Now let me tell you one thing regarding about hyperlapse video. Okay, yeah. So hyperlapse video is a kind of like a some is this thing that key, it's a, you take a photo, almost like a thousands of photo you have to take about one single object with a multiple angle and things like that. Like I'm not gonna kind of like give you all the things. If you wanted to know about hyperlapse, go to the YouTube and search about that. Important thing is that you have to take almost like a thousands of photo. Thousand was too much, probably almost like a 300 to 400 photos. Okay, how? Okay, so basically this thing, in the hyperlapse video, you're not shooting video, you are taking photos. Okay, yeah. And that photo will convert into the frame. Okay. Now basically this thing, every video is a 30 fps video or 24.24 fps video. Fps means what? Like every video that you watch is a combination of frames or combination of photos. Okay, yeah. Each second has a kind of like only 24 photos, and because of these things are actually happening so fast, so that's why we just kind of like feel like it's a moving thing, but that is not. It's a kind of like a only multiple picture are kind of like a stack each after another, so it felt like moving. It's a kind of like a somebody is this thing na ki you draw kind of like a Mickey Mouse in a book in every page, and you just kind of like somebody just like try to like you've seen the video na. So the every pages kind of like act like a video, so it just felt like that ki in that book that Mickey Mouse is kind of like somebody moving and things like that, but that is not. Each page has this kind of like a somebody, yeah. So that is called fps. Okay, so basically it's this thing that if I wanted to make hyperlapse at least like basically 1 minute. Okay, yeah. So in the 1 minute, how many seconds? They are almost like a 60 seconds. So each second has almost like a 30 frames. Okay, because my timeline is a 30 frame. Okay, so that means 30 photos per second. So how many photos that I should supposed to take? 30 into 60. That means like basically this thing, it's been almost like a 3600 probably. Yeah, like I have to take almost like a 3600 photos to kind of like make 1 minute of hyperlapse. Okay, yeah. But usually I don't make a 1 minute of hyperlapse. I make a kind of like a something like a 10 second to 20 second of hyperlapse. Okay, yeah. So even if I say kind of like a only 20 second of hyperlapse, it might gonna take like basically 20. That means how many seconds? Like a 20 seconds. So basically 30 into 20, that means 600. Okay, so I need a kind of like a 600 photos to kind of like a create one hyperlapse video. Okay, 600 photos. Okay, yeah. And if you are kind of like thinking that, oh, 600 photo, that is a lot. Yeah, that's a really lot. Like start counting from 1 to 600, you will probably realize that key, okay, like this is a very big number, 600 photos, and I'm actually taking 600 photos. So basically it's this thing that key, I'm actually taking photos. I kind of like take photos from mobile phone. Okay, now another thing is that photos are kind of like a bit more higher in quality, as well as kind of like something higher in kind of like a something size. Okay, yeah. Like when you take a video might be kind of like a 10-second video might take a kind of like a something like a 200 or 300 MB. If I kind of like take a video at 1080p 30 fps, 10-second video. But if I kind of like somebody take almost like a 100 photos, it would be almost like a 1 GB, probably 1 GB. So it is a kind of like a very massive photo size. So I kind of like in my city there is a kind of like a place, kind of like a something like the Gandhi Putra. Okay, yeah, Gandhi Putra, then Ambedkar Chowk. Okay, so there is Ambedkar statue. Hyperlapse kind of like look really beautiful when you are kind of like somebody creating hyperlapse on something that a monument or things like that. It looks really beautiful. So I started creating this thing. I started taking photos. Okay, yeah. So 200, 300 photos. So I take almost like maybe thousands of photos I take. Okay, yeah. I kind of like came home. Okay. Now what I did that I import that thousands of photos in my Premiere Pro. Okay, at that time my laptop was it doesn't really have any graphics card. Sorry, I just had a dinner. Okay, so I have that laptop, HP notebook something. Okay, yeah, which has a 4 GB of RAM and 1 terabytes of hard drive and Intel i5 processor. Okay, yeah, i5 probably i5 i3. No, it's the i5 processor. Yeah, i5 processor. Okay, yeah. This is the laptop. It doesn't really have any graphics card. It has a kind of like a internal graphics card. Okay, yeah. So basically this thing na ki this actually happened in 2020. Okay, yeah. So I was kind of like you try to create the hyperlapse on this laptop. And this is kind of like one of the craziest thing. Like, let me tell you one thing now. Okay, yeah. Hyperlapse is a kind of like a far away. If I try to import thousands photos on Premiere Pro, it just literally my Premiere Pro get crash. Like literally crash. There is only one option that I have, just restart. Okay, yeah, and that is a force restart. Like there is no kind of there is no button is actually working. There is nothing really at all. Like you just started import 1,000 photos, it just stop for almost like 1 hour. It just don't do anything at all. It just stuck. Like there is no button work, nothing really at all. I just have to force restart my laptop. So there is a kind of like a very much fucked up thing happened. Okay, yeah. So what I did is that I realized that the photo size is kind of like a much more larger. Like 1,000 photo, it would be size almost like a 7 to 8 GB. Okay, yeah. So it's not really possible to import that many photos and that many size. So I decided that I should supposed to be kind of like somebody that kind of like a downgrade the video and things, downgrade the kind of like things. So I was kind of like looking for that how do I supposed to kind of like I went like there is a kind of like a problem actually happened. I go to the YouTube search about that how do I supposed to do this thing, my processor get crash and things like that. So there is a YouTube kind of like tell us that tutorial that use media encoder. Okay, yeah, Adobe Media Encoder. So let's just say media encoder is a kind of like a thing that na ki whatever the files that you have, it kind of like assembly, like if your laptop has a kind of like assembly doesn't really have that much processing speed or processing power. So what exactly is this thing that ki media encoder creates a proxy. Okay, yeah, and that proxy is a kind of like a really good. It means that na ki you select the clip, create the proxy, it kind of like a downgrade your kind of like a resolution and things and that, so that you could edit better. Okay, yeah, like basically you are editing your videos in probably 480, but your video is a 1080, but you are editing your video in 480. Now after you edit, then what is actually this thing that you actually export your video in kind of like a full resolution. Okay, but your editing went smoother. So I thought that ki okay, let's do that thing. Okay, yeah. So so what I did is that ki instead of like I kind of like assembly, there is a one thing that I did that ki I should supposed to be do this thing. Okay, yeah. But there is also another option that how do I supposed to do this thing, because media encoder kind of like assembly take a video, it does not take, like it does not encode the photos. Okay, and I have almost like thousands of photos. So so there is a big problem. Okay, yeah. So there is only one way to do that thing. Like yeah, you could do that thing. Like photos can encode too, but you have to nest that sequence. I'm going a little bit of technical over here, but yeah, you have to do a little bit of nest the sequence. Okay, so what exactly is this thing? Like my photo is not importing. If the photo is not importing, I will not gonna create the proxy. If I'm not create the proxy, I would not kind of like execute the editing process. Okay, yeah. So I just figure it out that key maybe something I have to do something different. So what I did is that I download the another software named Format Factory. Okay, yeah. So what exactly this software does? So this software kind of like reduce the file size, okay, and make it your file little bit lighter to open and things and that. Okay, yeah. So I download this software, Format Factory. Okay, Format Factory, and I select all those thousands of photos and kind of like simply try to basically just try to like I try to encode those photos so that minimum, so it kind of like simply reduce the file size. Okay, yeah. And after the reduce the file size, that almost like a 7 to 8 GB converted into almost like a 1.7 GB, something like that, probably 1.7 GB, which is massive file size reduction. I was like, boy, that's really good. Then I upload those reduction file size into the Premiere Pro. Okay, and it import. It does not crash, it import. Thousands of photos are actually import in Premiere Pro. Then what I did is that I select all those kind of like thousands of photos. By the way, these are thousands of photos have a multiples of kind of like some monument and things and that. So I kind of like simply select that, arrange those photos properly, okay, one after another and things and that. Okay, and then I create the sequence. Okay, yeah, nested sequence. Okay, nested sequence. I try to kind of like do hyperlapse. I try to add the warp stabilizer, but I think it might not gonna work, because obviously is this thing still it is a kind of like a little less file size, but still these photos are very high quality. Like literally, like basically photos are always been high quality. Like if you take a video is almost like a 19:16 aspect ratio with kind of like a record the things. Okay, but photos are kind of like a very higher resolution. Okay, yeah. So what I did that I kind of like make the sequence in 1080 by 1920. Sorry, 1920 by 1080 sequence file, and then I try to downgrade the kind of like a resolution in photos, crop the little bit. Okay, yeah. Arrange all those kind of like photos and create the nested sequence. Each nested sequence. So there are almost like a 7 nested sequence. Okay, yeah. Now I convert that nested sequence into the kind of like a encode. Okay, like basically I select this thing, create the proxy by media encoder, and it actually done. Okay, yeah, it actually create the kind of like a proxy. Okay, so which is really good. Now after I create the proxy, then I select that proxy, put it into the timeline. Okay, yeah, now editing will gonna start. Now editing will not gonna start. Okay, so I kind of like a put it in the timeline. Now this is a timeline. There is only one thing that I have to do. Go to the effect, search about warp stabilizer. Okay, yeah, click on this, add on that timeline, and then it kind of like a stabilize. And dude, after all those things, I thought that ki it might gonna work out. It might gonna work out. But warp stabilizer is just like one of the heaviest tasks in Premiere Pro. Heaviest, like literally just one of the heaviest tasks. Okay, yeah. I dropped that warp stabilizer in my timeline. My Premiere Pro again crash. Literally just crash. Like I was started crying, dude. What the fuck is this thing? Like I can't able to import. I can't able to do kind of like a simple clip, a kind of like a simply 10-second clip. It just like I was like really frustrated. Like literally my system got crashed, and I understand that my system is a kind of, it doesn't really have anything. It doesn't really have any graphics card. Everything's kind of like a running on kind of like a simply internal GPU. And by the way, I didn't really mention the render. Okay, like every time I did anything, I just have to save it and render it. Okay, yeah, just any kind of like a one frame, I just kind of like move anywhere, I just have to render it every single time. It is kind of like a very hassle. But somehow like that day my system get crashed, then next day I kind of like wake up, I try again, it kind of like a crash again, then I kind of like clear the cache and things, then I try again, then it might work. And when it work, after I stabilize all my video, like one clip, okay, and when I see that timeline into my Premiere Pro, it looks so beautiful. Like this is the first time now, I don't know how do I supposed to explain this feeling. It's a kind of like that now, you are putting so much amount of effort for try to achieve something, and after you put so much effort and that thing you achieve, it felt really good. Like this is the first time now I seen my hyperlapse, like I seen this hyperlapse that I created by myself, and it looks so beautiful in so many ways, and I just like, wow. Like it is kind of like one of the greatest feeling that I get. Like after all those kind of like hassle and things and crashes and stuck and laptop got, there are so many, yeah, I just kind of like only really frustrated. Okay, but after all those things, I created that hyperlapse, and when I see that thing in my timeline, I feel really good. I feel that wow. So by the way, like what exactly is this question? Like this question, does this question is kind of like a resonate with the thing that you tell us? Like basically the question says that do I have enough to focus on creativity instead of kind of like a technical fear? Like basically what's a technical fear? A technical fear means like that sometimes our technical thing means like that our, like sometimes my laptop is not had enough to kind of like edit 4K images or 4K video, or sometimes I might not have that much camera, or I might not have that much mic and things and that. Okay, yeah, I always have constraint about everything. Like when I try to shoot my video, I don't really have mic. Like I have a mic, Boya M1 mic, but it's sometimes it's just not working. Okay, yeah, like I put the Boya mic into my mobile phone, still sometimes it's just not connecting. When I like it actually happened, like when I try to record my video and that mic does not connect. So what I did while I was kind of like a recording, I was kind of like somebody create a backup. Like basically I kind of like take my mother phone and kind of like record the audio externally, like a backup. Like if something goes wrong, then probably I might take the audio from this way. So that's why I'm kind of like putting my mobile phone into my kind of like assembly upper pocket, so that I might gonna kind of like assembly record the audio probably and things like that. Like there are so many jugaad that I did to kind of like assembly execute my videos in, yeah. And not just kind of like assembly, every creator does that thing. every creator, every person has a kind of like a feel through hassle and things like that. And that's what kind of like simply makes the kind of like a creator refine its skill and things like that. Like everyone has their kind of like a problem, like their mic is not working, camera is not working, laptop is not working, technical jargon always be there. But because of this thing, do we supposed to be stop our creativity? I don't think that we should supposed to stop. Like, problem is always been there, dude. Even if you have kind of like a Mac OS or MacBook, still things are always happen. Technical jargon or technical kind of like assembly glitches always be there. I think that you shouldn't supposed to be think about that. You like basically I didn't really think about that. There are so many stuff that I have to be think about that why not I should supposed to buy new laptop and things and that. Like, I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing, but I am from India, and there is only one good thing that actually exists in India. Okay, and what is that good thing is that whatever you have, just do it, or kind of like find something jugaad that kind of like solve the problem at the moment, or temporary solution. And this mentality that I am kind of like a grow inside of me. Okay, yeah, since the beginning, whatever you have, just manage it. Basically this is what kind of like Indian mentality people like do not think about the basically most of people kind of like, I don't know, basically US and European people might not kind of like resonate with this thing, because I don't know, they might not resonate with this thing. They might gonna think that dude, I don't really have good camera, how do I supposed to do this thing and that, but we just do it. Okay, yeah, like I did it, and I seen so many people who did that. Whatever they have, they just try to figure it out, try to find out the solution and try to do this thing. Okay, yeah, so I did that thing. And not me, every person does that thing. Whatever they have, they just utilize to kind of like execute the work as better as it can. So I think that probably is this thing. The question is that for this content creation, is my technical thing is kind of like a hard enough to sustain my creativity and things like that? Well, at the moment, I am kind of like a really good. I have my laptop is also not really good. Sometimes it get crash and things and that, but still okay. It work. Okay. It just done. Okay. It takes time. Sometimes it get crash, but after I restart, it's okay. It's manageable. I can handle this thing. Okay. So basically is this thing I didn't really kind of like somebody say that kind of like say that let's just pause this thing, or let's just kind of like stop and kind of like somebody just focus on add a kind of like another hardware, then I will gonna do this thing. No, I just figure it out. Yeah, I think that creativity is the only one thing that I am actually focused on, kind of like execute in that creativity in whatever the things that I have, I just do it. Okay, yeah. So yeah, probably. Yeah, it's not kind of like a thing that it's a I don't know, yeah, dude. It's just like you might think that I'm kind of like a really amazing person thing, but that is not like what should you supposed to do in that particular moment? It's not whatever you have, you just have to use it or not use it. What's exactly better way to use it, whatever you have, and that's it. Even if you have potato laptop, just use it. So regarding about this question, do I trust my setup enough to execute my creativity? I think yeah, it's good. My setup is not that good, but it's good enough to execute my creativity. Okay, probably at the moment my creativity is not really that much really required me. Usually I kind of create short form of content. Short form content are kind of a very small, timeline is a small, layer is just a very less, so probably it doesn't really take that much amount of time, so I execute. Okay, yeah. And for the technical thing, I have a laptop which is sufficient probably, right? So yeah, all right, so this is it. I should supposed to be end here, and thank you.